So guys, just a few months back, I got a notification on my phone showing a memory from 4 years ago. And the memory was from the date March 21st, 2019. And as soon as I saw that, I remembered that day so clearly because it was the day I literally sprinted all the way home in the middle of the night because I didn't want to get late for my first day at work at Funsel. I was doing part-time work from Canada while studying investment banking. And I was always interested in making games, so I thought that, why not try it out? Let's try out this gaming thing. The industry is massive, so I think I can do well here. I started working as a part-time game designer. I made a few games over the first few months, and I was understanding how to make games. So once I came back to India during the summer of that year, they finally gave me my first solo project at Funsel. They gave me a project called Hack Computer. It was a game on hacking, which is an always trending topic, right? So I decided I was here for the summer. I had nothing better to do. So why not give my all to gaming? I used to spend 10, 12 hours a day just working on Hack Computer, finding references of different games like that. And during the summer, I did that for 2 months. When I went back to college, I again got so involved in gaming that my GPA started to drop. My GPA, which was a 3.9, I dropped down to a 3.4 or 3.5. And my whole time was just going and making that one game Hack Computer. So after 6 months, a game which we tried with Quali somehow got published. It was my first game that I had made, and it got published with Quali. I was a bit taken aback. I was shocked that my first game could get published, and currently it's at around 2 million downloads, and it did fairly well. So I understood that this industry has a lot of scope. If I really put in my hard work into this industry, I can do fairly well. When I came back to India in December of 2019, Abhishek sir, our CEO of Funsel Games, he called me over to his place. I thought he must be calling me to celebrate, He published a game. It was just the second game we published that year. But he called me home and he said, Shaurya, I want you to leave your education in Canada. I know you have 2 years left. But I want you to leave that, shift back to India, and let's do game design full time. I see that you have the potential. You know the industry has the potential. So just come back home. I was honestly confused. I didn't know. I love Canada. I wanted to go have fun. I had just 2 more years left. But I told him, give me a few months. I'll give it a thought. When I come back next summer, I'll make a decision. I made a few games. I tried my own games, new innovations, but they didn't really do that well. So I thought that, let's just copy games which are in the top charts. I'll just add my own assets, and let's try it that way. Maybe that works. I tried that for another 4-5 months. I again published 0 games. I had 11 months that I had gotten over. My GPA had now dropped down to a 3.2 because my main focus was on making games. And I had also published 0 games. So as a whole, I started feeling like I'm a failure, right? I'm failing in my work. I'm failing in my college. And at the same time, all my friends that I had in Canada, I was failing socially because I couldn't meet any of them. But during this time, I got a lot of valuable advice from our CEO, Mr. Abhishek Malpani. I gave myself completely into his guidance. At that point, he had already published 14 games. Our studio already had over 200 million downloads, and this is US only. So I knew that if I listened to his guidance, this will definitely help me a lot. So, I can summarize the guidance he gave me during that period to 4 key points. The first thing he taught me was to gamify every single situation that I'm in. I was a bit confused about what does he mean. What do you mean I gamify everything that I'm in? I saw how he behaved. Every single interaction that he had, he tried to think of how that can be turned into a game. Our biggest hit is a game called 9 Months. The game has 50 million downloads. It was world number 1 back in 2019. And the game came from him just seeing a friend of his go through the process of pregnancy. and him thinking of how that can be a game. So he came up with the concept of growing the child from a fetus to an adult, and that game did really well. Another big hit we've had is a game called Idle Human, which came from a documentary that he had seen, and he tried to make that into a game. So I understood this point of his of gamifying everything, and I started to implement that myself. Second thing he told me is to stop looking at the top charts. All of my games started becoming only based on the top charts. So he told me delete that app, stop looking at the top charts, try to create something of your own. You can take inspiration from top charts, you can take some progression ideas from top charts, but you can't copy another person's creation and call it your own. That is not how you succeed here. Okay, I heard him. The third thing he told me, never do two things at once. He knew that I was doing my college while also making games, and I was half-assing both of them. I was not succeeding in either of them. So he told me that choose either one thing, whichever one you think that you will succeed better in, whichever one you think you have more potential in, and just do either one of these two things. And the fourth thing he taught me was to have patience. Abhishek sir didn't publish any games from 2009 to 2017. And then from 2017 till now, we've published 20 games. So he told me once you are confident with the games that you are making, once you feel like you're proud of what you're doing, just be patient and you will have hits. I could see that he had a lot of trust in me. He spent hours mentoring me. So I decided to give it a shot. I decided I'll take a few years off my education and shift back to India for good. Maybe I would finish it later, but right now I would focus mainly on just making games, using his 4-step formula. I started gamifying everything. I deleted the top charts app that I had on my phone. I obviously left my education, so I was doing just one thing. And now I was waiting patiently until I had my first hit. I made several games during this time, and a lot of them flopped. I remember one time I was talking to a waiter and I had a funny interaction with him. And while I was in the restaurant, I called Abhishek sir that, why don't we make a game where we are playing the game as the waiter. So basically, everywhere I went, I would think of how that can be a game. Now, since I'd already shifted back to India and I had a lot of time at home, I decided that I'd fulfill my lifelong dream and get myself a dog. So I got myself a puppy, Leo. And that was just because I thought I'll have some fun at home, I'll have a lot of time. One day I was looking at Leo, I was seeing how a dog thinks. I could see he would get possessive when I was with a partner of mine, or how he would get excited whenever I came home. And I just found it very fascinating how a dog thinks. So I kept thinking of how I can make a game with a dog in mind. That's why I came up with the concept of a game called Dog Life Simulator. The concept was just that you live the game from the life perspective of a dog. A child adopts you at the age of 5 and you play different levels through the life perspective of a dog and you grow old with your owner. It was just a shot in the dark, but the game got amazing CPI, and over 6 months the game got published with Boombit. Currently the game sits at 25 million downloads, US only. It's one of the most successful games we have had, it's one of the most successful games of Boombit, and it reached the world top 100. So just while 6 months ago I started doubting myself so much, I realized that once I gave this industry my all, this had the potential to do wonderful numbers. The potential was just never ending. So I used the same formula, I continued for the next few months. This was just one hit. I was confident that I could do much more. 2 months later, I was with a cousin of mine. He's just 10 years old. And I saw him lying to his mother about the smallest thing. He missed school, his mom asked him, "Why did you miss school?" So he replied, "I had a stomachache, that's why I didn't go." I asked him, "Why didn't you tell her that you had a fever or something else?" So his reply was, if she would check my temperature, she would find out that I didn't have a fever. So even at that young age, he had the consciousness and the state of mind to lie and get out of every single situation he was in. I was honestly worried about him, but I also started thinking of how that can be a game. How is he lying and getting out of every situation he's in? He's lying to his teachers, he's lying to his mother, he's lying to his friends. And somehow he's just getting out without anyone finding out. So I decided to come up with a game called Perfect Lie, where the concept was that you are born, at the age of 5 you start the game with the goal to become the world's best liar, and through each stage you progress through the game and you keep getting older. So you start off lying to your parents, you grow older, you lie to your girlfriend, you grow older, you lie to your professors, you grow older, you lie to your children. I knew it was an innovative concept, it was never done. But I didn't think it would get published because I had just published the game and I knew that it would take time. We tested the game, it had incredible CPI, the data was incredible, and the game reached world number 2 on the Android store. And it's also currently at almost 20 million installs. I understood that gamifying everything around you, thinking of your life as a game. If you're watching Netflix, think of how that show can be turned into a game. If you're meeting someone, think of how that can be a game. That is the formula to finding new ideas and creating something new. I've been using the same formula for the last 2 years. In the last year, I've published 2 more games. One is a game called Hyper PA that has 7 million installs. Mom Life Simulator was published with Boombit that has 2 million installs. And I currently have a few more games in the soft launch phase, which have the scope of getting published soon. So, after these last 4 years, my role has been shifted from a part-time game designer to a product head. I currently lead a team of around 40 people at Funset Games. My role is to take games from the prototype phase and get them published, to give ideas on how to take a game to the publishing stage. In the last year, I've had the honor to work with all of the top publishers, and they have taught me a lot of things of how to firstly maneuver these difficult times, and secondly, the key steps you need for any studio to work in this time. I think these steps might help any studio out here, so I would love to share them with you. But before that, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is considered a tough time for this gaming industry? Like, what time duration? Anyone can raise their hand and answer. No one? Does anyone know what is considered difficult times in this mobile gaming industry? So from what we have found out from the data, it suggests that post-COVID, the data of all games, it's become a lot more difficult to publish games. Prior to 2022, there was never a decline in the mobile gaming numbers, but post that, there's been a slight decline, and it's become tougher to publish games. These are considered tough times, but for us, I feel like we have done a lot to combat this term tough time. Because in the last 2 years, we've published 6 games. We've taken our team from a strength of 50 people to 100 people. And we have found ways to be successful even during these times. The first thing we realized during this time is that CPI has become so important for us. Previously, we used to test gameplay videos and hope that the video would make sense. We would test the CPI. If it was 50 cents or above, we would cancel the game, move on to the next game. But now, we have formed a team of around 12 to 15 people who work on just bringing the CPI down. If you have CPI in hand, you have one part of the gaming process already secured. And now you just need to make sure you make a good game. If you see over here, we have games that started off with 56 cents CPI. But because we're so confident in our team, we continue to make this game. And right now we brought it down to 39 cents. So it's important to check the trends of all successful CPI videos. It's important to check which themes do well. It's important to... I've been doing this for the last 6 months. It's 45 minutes every morning. And since starting this, my ideas have gotten so much more advanced that it's shocking. I honestly couldn't believe it. I never believed in the concept of meditation before this. But for people in our industry whose role is to be creative, to think of new ideas, decluttering your mind and rebooting yourself every few months is extremely important. So the sixth most important thing I've learned over the last 2 years is to give yourself time to think. If you're thinking of things which are not related to your industry, give yourself time. Over these last 2 years, Fansal has made it its goal to be not only India's biggest gaming studio, but the world's biggest gaming studio in the next decade. And we know that we can't do this just ourselves. We want to grow India's gaming ecosystem as a whole. And so we request any studio out here to reach out to us. We would love to teach you anything that we have learned from our publishers. We would love to learn from you for anything that you know that that can help us to improve our games. And I feel like if we work together, this industry can grow to a far bigger extent than we currently know. So thank you guys for listening to me, and I hope that I could help you guys in some way to make games better. Yeah, thanks. If there's any question anyone has, then I'd love to.